shofar. Let's give some tzedakah. Today, Erev Shabbat, the 15th day of the month of Elul, which is the day where the Rebbe Rashab has established the Yeshiva Tabchet Mimim, known as the Lubavitch Yeshivas. In honor of that date, I want to share with you a story I came across, written by a fellow by the name Benny Rogoznitsky, originally hails from South Africa, and had an amazing experience, and the following is what he writes, and I read it verbatim. Last week, we finally got away on vacation. This trip, over a year in the making, would last only a week, and the highlight would be my leading the services on Shabbat in Florence, Italy, at a very special simcha. Unfortunately, as life would have it, everything that could go wrong went wrong. From a delay getting to the airport, the multiple delays in the airports, lost suitcases in Rome, and a stay in a hotel without Wi-Fi. The list went on and on. In all the commotion, I was trying to understand, what is the message that God is sending me? What was I missing? And then, until Sunday, the very last day of our vacation, God rang the bell. As we were walking through the streets of Venice and touring the Jewish ghetto, we encountered two young Chabad yeshiva students. They were blowing the shofar and attempting to put tefillin on anyone who would admit to being Jewish. On this particularly hot Sunday, the students had very few customers, so I decided to engage them in conversation. It turned out that they were 17-year-olds and learning at the Chabad yeshiva near Paris, France, Brunois. The younger of the two boys shared with me the following story. You know, it seems very quiet right now, but this past Friday I experienced the greatest moment of my life. And he told us that as he was standing at this very spot Friday afternoon, an elderly man approached. It was clear that he was not steady on his feet, and so the boy offered him a seat at a table and a glass of water. When he asked him whether he was Jewish and would like to put on tefillin, the man said no, he wasn't Jewish, but his mother was Jewish. Who? I explained to him that according to Jewish law, he's as Jewish as any Jew. And the boy thought to himself, he says, what a wonderful experience it would be to put on tefillin on this man on Rosh Chodesh Elul. After some back and forth, the man agreed, admitting that in his entire 96 years, this was his very first mitzvah, his very first Jewish thing. When they finished, they gave him a challah, and the man slowly walked away. But the boy decided to walk with him through the streets of the Venice ghetto to his home because he was unstable on his feet, so he wanted to make sure that he got there safely. The next morning, Shabbat, as the two boys, Bachim, made their way back to the ghetto, he passed the man's building, and they noticed medics and a stretcher at the entrance. Unfortunately, the man whom they had befriended and with whom they had this incredible religious experience just yesterday had felt ill during the night, and sadly he passed away. Now, reaching this part of the story, this young boy could barely control his emotions. Do you realize, do you understand? I got to put on tefillin on a Jew at 96-year-old just today, for the first time in his life, just the day before he passed away. He was extremely emotional about it. But I too became emotional. I hugged him. And in a moment, the three of us started dancing. Those two Bachim and myself, in the middle of the ghetto square. People looked on, bewildered, to say the least, not understanding what the joy and celebration was all about. And I thought, yes, a man had died, unfortunately. And that's sad. But Judaism had lived through the love of these young Jewish boys committed to their heritage and willing to stand in the blazing heat to touch and inspire another Jewish soul. Later that afternoon, on the water taxi ride to the airport, I was struck by the boys' incredible story and our conversation. These young boys did not have a fancy hotel to stay in. They didn't have a problem of lost luggage. They didn't have a problem with Wi-Fi. They had barely had any luggage. They didn't have to deal with an Uber taking them to the wrong airport because probably they took public transportation. But yet, they had such joy and meaning in their lives. Our vacation was incredibly challenging, but this is a vacation that I will not forget. Thanks to this wonderful shluchim of the Rebbe, doing the work to hastening the coming of Mashiach. And very soon we won't walk in the small street, little streets of the Venice ghetto, but we will walk in the streets of Yerushalayim towards the Bet HaMikdash.